Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's session of our GoTo Partner Office Hours October edition. Quick reminders as always, so the session is being recorded. We'll make sure to get this out to you after. We also will be doing Q&A throughout, so please go ahead and submit your questions in the Q&A box and we'll be sure to answer them. Finally, your feedback is really valuable to us, so we have a quick exit survey after today's session. Please fill that out. And now to meet our speakers. So I think you're both familiar with these two by now, but we're joined today by Dobik. Hi, Dobik, and welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Jess.
Good morning. And Natasha has been so kind enough to do a recording for us. Unfortunately, it's a little bit early in India right now with the time change, so we hope to get her live on one of these sessions. But with that, what we'll cover today, what's new with GoTo Connect, followed by product updates for GoTo Resolve. We'll also be taking you through our Q4 incentives and then onto our Q&A. So with that, I'll hand it over to Dobik to take it away. Thanks, Dobik.
Thanks very much. Yeah, now I'm just going to share my screen to cover off what I'll be covering off today. So today, as part of my GoTo Connect updates, I'm going to focus around three different areas. First of all, we have released a new version of the dial plan editor within GoTo Connect. So I'll be demonstrating some of the changes that we have introduced as part of that. They're pretty exciting, very useful, I think, for some of our partners that are more interested in actually finding out what's going on within the call flows. I will touch on a new release of the webinar. So today we are actually utilizing the release of that software, and I'll show you how that's tied into the GoTo application and some of the changes that we have seen as a result of that. And then lastly, I will demonstrate the contact center functionality. So I'm going to touch on what's been introduced. So there are three new areas that have been introduced to the new contact center, which is ignoring the forward device information that may be set up on a telephone. And then we also have an ability to control how we're going to connect to agents for various call scenarios, and I'll cover those three different scenarios that are available. And the last one is we have released a scheduling of the reports. So this was something that has been asked for quite a while. It's one of the most asked for functionalities. So over with that, I'm going to start off with the dial plan editor in the first instance. So let me jump out of that one and bring you into what that actually looks like. Let's have a look at my my admin console. So how to get to dial plans? You're all probably quite familiar with the dial plans. Dial plans give you call flow functionality on the GoTo Connect platform. And I have logged into one of our demo systems, and I'm going to look at the mainline dial plan to illustrate some of the changes. So this is what it looks like. Totally new layout. So some of the colors have changed. The information being presented has changed. So you've got information around the different tabs and different nodes as you hover over them. But what you'll find is that you have these abilities to actually make changes. So if I'm going to add something into a system, I can undo that function as opposed to just saving something. So that's introduced, and then potentially redo that change. So it gives me some greater controls over what's taking place from modifying the dial plan. The thing that I really like about dial plan is having the ability now to actually access certain information directly from the dial plan. So over here, for example, the call comes in and I'm going to check my schedule. So I've got this thing called latest DB schedule. If I wanted to actually see what that looks like, I've got this link icon over here. If I click on it, it will actually take me to that specific schedule, and it will show me what that actually looks like. So it has opened up schedules, it has gone into my specific schedule that I've selected, and shows me that my schedule, latest DB schedule, is actually 8 to 5:30 most days, and then a Thursday late night shopping with a little bit of a late start on the Friday. So that gives me the ability to access those fairly quickly. As previously, you could have a selection of the different schedules. So if you're familiar with them, then you can basically select any of those schedules directly through here. However, if none of those actually fit, I can create a new schedule directly through this interface as well. So if I click to create, I can give it a name. Um, because I'm very creative, I'm going to say Dobek new schedule and then click save. And when I do that, it gives me an option to either just put that into the system and go back to it in the dial plan later on. So for example, edit later and continue with the dial plan, or I can edit the schedule right here, right now in the new tab. So it's now going to open up a new tab. It will give me the name that I've just put into that schedule, and it will now allow me to create different schedules directly through here. So here I go, and I've got a blank canvas, and I can start creating that schedule into this, right? So I can extract it out to however I want it to go. So my schedule is now starting to be implemented. So now I've got Dobek's new schedule that's been put in place, and I've got availability on the Monday. So what happens to those calls when I'm open? I'm now sending it to an auto attendant. That's all familiar. That's still providing the connectivity. But here again, where I've got information such as an auto attendant play message, I can actually go to that audio file and I can link it, or I can go out there and select different links or create a new sound clip through this interface. So from the dial plan, I go in and out in order to manage all my different activities. So really useful. So I can perform these functions for new schedules, for new messages, audio clips over here as well. I've got the same thing. So if I drop that down, you'll find that. I have the ability to also do the same thing from a queues perspective. I can access those queues directly. I can go in and jump into lines and create new lines. So if I have a simple dial, I can go in there, and when I drop that, I've got the ability to create a new direct extension or create a new ring group. So it gives me a really nice ability to actually do my configuration from the dial plan without having to do everything previously and then clicking it all together. So that's really cool, being able to do all that stuff in that one interface. And you can see that I was just undoing all the changes that I have made. So that's kind of making the configuration of these systems really easy now, being able to utilize some of those changes directly through the dial plan. That we wanted to add is some information around the system. So this dial plan has actually been active for a little while, and what I can do is I can kind of have a look at these sort of like different date formats, right? It says show call volume for. So for the last 7 days, what does that actually mean? Well, when I actually hit this analytics mode button over here, what you'll find is that I've got data being presented now. So as a call comes in, 100% time of the calls, I had to place 10 calls, went through during open hours, and it went, and you can see that the line's a lot heavier, went straight to the auto attendant. Most of the time, I've actually selected option one. 45% of the time, in fact, I've taken option one and it's gone to Dobek's queue for sales. And the next popular one was twice. I went into Dobek's accounts queue, and what I find is that I've also had instances where twice I selected to dial the extension from here. So the auto attendant functionality basically does the following. Hi and welcome to GoTo. If you know the extension now, please dial it now because I've checked this box. And when I dial an extension, for example, 0108, that would have gone to Jack Finnegan, and then I chose that option on two separate instances. It also shows me an interesting point. Once the user actually hung up. So that's information that normally you wouldn't see. So I have some information around the hang up instances. So at what point during this call flow did the user decide to hang up? And as a result, work out at what point do I have my abandonments taking place. So that's really good information. And the reason why we're doing all this is because it forms part of our strategy around creating more value into our call reporting. So this analytics piece is going to be fed into a report that we're going to create, which is going to be the cradle to grave reporting, which will look at all the activities that have taken place, right from when the call arrives, going through the dial plan, going through to an end user, transferring, going to a queue, transferring, all that type of stuff will be captured and made available in a nice graphical interface. So that's something that we're really keen on seeing. That's aimed towards the end of this year. But as we hit that capability, we're going to have to add a lot of functionality into the system as we go. And this is an example of that functionality being released to make the cradle to grave reporting available. And there's some massive benefits as a result of this dial plan. So hopefully you find that really useful. Before I head off, I'm going to show you a couple of other things. So one of the things that you can have is in this help file over here is you can provide show info. So when I click show info, what it actually does, it selects whatever widget I select, for example, auto attendant, and it explains to me what it does. So it plays a recorded sound clip, providing the options to select numbers, da 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 da, and it gives me the insights. So 11 incoming calls in the last 7 days, pressed star once, one 5 times, etc., etc., etc. So these insights are really useful to be able to get that information, schedule, all that stuff. So even if I select, maybe something over here, like a simple dial, it actually brings that out. Now, because it's not part of the plan, it doesn't have the insights, but it does give me some additional details around what that does. So if I click on remote control, typically you would have to look at that in our support system in order to be able to find that. But now we can actually give you information around what that actually does and give you some examples around how to use it in a system. So that's, in my opinion, that's really good. Helps customers, helps partners, and helps our engineers be more efficient in how we run that. And lastly, it also does have a tutorial that you can run through. So if you've got a customer that you recently put on, you will find that start tutorial will be available. For me, it actually says restart because I obviously wanted to check it out to see what it looks like. So I was partly through that tutorial when exploring what this new functionality does. Now, availability is right now, but only for new customers. So as you bring on new customers, they'll have this interface. Customers that are hanging off the platform that is has been in place. So for example, a lot of you will have a demo system. You might not yet see this. So you will see that in your customers deployments, but you might not have that yet available through your interface. That will be coming through later on. So hopefully you're excited about this dial plan. The next thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to touch on some of the contact center updates. So as I mentioned previously, from a contact center perspective,
Question. So
events. So what I'm going to do here is, seeing that I'm already in analytics, I'm going to jump into an analytics window within the contact center. So typically for analytics, and I'm going to put in previous month information so that I've got some data in there. It doesn't look so blank. What you can see is that I've got an ability to create agent performance and queue related reports. Now, for those that are not particularly familiar, this is a report that gives you a lot of information around what's taking place in a contact center. So the calls by outcomes, how many calls have been presented on a certain date, how many of them have been abandoned, how many of them have been answered etc. You can also filter those based on time in queue. So for example, if I wanted to remove anything that was below 5 seconds, I could basically put in a second 5 minimum, apply that, and it will remove any of the short abandoned calls. So from that perspective, gives me really good ability to filter out based on queues, based on outcomes, based in time in queue, and based on call duration. Same thing from an agent performance perspective. I have an ability to view my agent information in terms of how much time I spent on the various activities, whether they were queue-based activities, whether they were outside of the queue, for example, direct calls to a user, to an agent. Then I can see that information, as well as my favorite report is actually the one down the bottom, because it tells me my availability for particular days. So different queues, different agents, you can see how much time they've spent and when they were active and if they were paused. So I can kind of like scroll through the different dates. Um, so I can see that, for example, on this one, I've been paused for 12 hours. So it gives me a good ability to capture what my agents are taking place. But the new thing is the schedule manager. So if I've created a report that I'm happy with and I've saved it and I've given it a name, for example, I've got this month to date GSPC queue that I've created, then I can get that information directly through here. And now what I can do is I can actually schedule it. So I can create a schedule. So I've got a schedule currently. Let's have a look what it looks like. So what I've created is basically an update so that Jake is going to receive my report, which is the month to date GSPCQ, and the range is over the last 7 days. I'll probably change it to month to date or whatever I wanted to run. And then I specify when I want it to schedule. So I want to schedule it so that it happens on a particular time and then repeat that on a weekly basis. Because I've done a last 7 days report over here, then I want to do it repeatedly, weekly. If I wanted to do a monthly, then obviously I would select the monthly report to update that. And that's going to provide a nice little email to Jake with a link to the report that he'll be able to access. So this will be available to anybody within the organization. So if I include Deepak, hopefully he comes up as well, and I can include Deepak in this as well. So some abilities to schedule the reporting. Other things that have taken place within the contact center analytics are around being able to configure things within the queues. So I'm going to jump into a call queue. So going back to my admin interface, contact center, and have a look at my call queues, and I'll select any odd queue. So I'll just select Dobex sales queue and see what has changed. So when I click on the settings, one of the things you'll find is that I've got a couple of things. The first one is I've got an ability to ignore forwarded devices. So why that is important is, let's just say I'm an agent, but I've also got my call forwarding information. Now, if I ring the agent and the agent hasn't answered because they're stepped outside and they have some forwarding, it might actually go to that person's that agent's voicemail. You might not want to turn that on, so you might want to ignore forwarded devices. So then it says, that agent is not available after the ring out period, and then it presents it to another agent. However, it might be that if you are the account manager for this, you might want it to go to your voicemail. So different customers have this requirement um, uh, whereby they either want to ignore the forwarding information or whether they want to keep it. So that's something that's been asked for from a lot of customers. That used to be part of the old functionality. The other thing that we've also added in to accommodate a lot of customers that really like the fact that you could ring active agents. So even though I'm actually on a call, on an agent call, it would still allow another call to come through to me, so that I could have two calls at the same time. That's not something you do in a contact center, but because we deal with a lot of small businesses, they don't have a lot of staff, and they still want to be able to receive and handle those calls. So we've enabled it, but we've given you three different options. The first option is to ignore it. So you don't actually ring an active agent because I'm on a call. So in a proper contact center, that's the one that you would select. However, you could say that if that person is on a and it says personal call, but I would say non-contact center call is what I would call this. If I'm on a direct non-agent call, then maybe I actually want my call center calls to be prioritized, so I'm going to present it. And I wrap up my personal call and then go and jump onto the agent or the queue call. And obviously, the last one is ring active today agents, regardless whether I'm on a uh, non ACT call or whether I'm on an ACT call. So they're the three different options that you can configure on the platform as of now. So hopefully that is useful from a contact center perspective. Now, I also mentioned the fact that that we have a new way to present our webinars. And for those of you that have seen the session with the partners in the past where I talked about integrating training into the new view, one of the things that we had provided back then is an ability to access trainings directly through this interface. Now we can also access, when I click on the webinar screen, it takes me to a similar view to what I have from a meetings perspective. So I can have all my different webinars that I'm kind of looking at, and we've got the channel office hours at the moment, so it gives me that ability to view that. So if I wanted to have a look at what that looks like, I can see what that webinar is set up to do. I can see if there's any organizers, co-organizers. If there's any registrations, I have no registrations for this particular one. I could see those registrations. But if I wanted to edit that, I can go in and actually jump into my webinar to provide additional information in more detail. So it does give me an ability to hop into that webinar and make the configuration changes, such as being able to change my branding colors, to make it look the way I want it to look, add additional engagement tools such as handouts, surveys, polls, and videos. So anything like that that I've got in there, I can directly feed into this interface. And most important for us, it also gives you the ability to view the webinar in the same way that we're doing all our meetings. So over here, you can see that the layout for webinar is just the same as what we have for meetings, but now I've got new additional features. So it does give me an ability to view my engagement. It does give me an ability to see whether the broadcast has started, how long the presentation is going on. And I've been talking for quite a while so far. Who's actually active and registered on the system and on the platform right now? Being able to do things simply like manage my microphones, manage others' microphones, being able to respond to raised arm, and being able to see that information, launching videos, launching desktop sharing. It's all nicely deployed in the same familiar interface that we've got in the current GoTo meeting and GoTo training. So that all is now available and reflects on all the things that we have provided. So with that, I might actually hand it back over to Jessica to start the video for the GoTo Resolve updates.
Great. Thanks so much, Dobik. And yeah, let me go ahead and start this.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Natasha Rock. I'm the remote support group for GoTo for the APAC territory. And today, what I'll be taking you through is some exciting updates that we've made on our remote support portfolio. So, moving forward, focusing on GoTo Resolve. Now, this is a product, as we all know, we launched in Feb of this year. It's GoTo's newest product, which has platformized the way companies consume end-to-end IT support. Right? So we've taken all the core features that a company, that an SMB would require for their daily IT work, and we've platformized and consolidated those features onto one platform, and we offer that to our SMBs today. Right? So it's an all-in-one IT support platform that offers ticketing, which is conversational through an integration with Slack and Microsoft Teams. We've got the reactive remote support for when an issue is identified for an agent to be able to remotely take control of an end user machine, resolve that issue. We've got remote monitoring and management, which allows for proactive monitoring, proactive security, and proactive support of their network.
Out just a bit early.
And we've also got the visual engagement, which allows for hardware support of fixing, troubleshooting devices, right? Underlying all of this is a hardcore security layer, which is built on a zero trust architecture, as well as enterprise grade security with AES 256-bit encryption and all your security protocols and compliances in place, right? So that is this is the introduction to GoTo Resolve, but how are we building on GoTo Resolve, right? So it's our newest product. We've taken it to market since Feb. It's been close to a year now, but it's a continuous process for us to keep on building on top of GoTo Resolve to make it the true end-to-end IT management solution for companies, right? And so we are continuously building on top of it. We have a very feature rich roadmap which has been developed for not only 2022, which is the rest of this year, as well as for 2023 and the coming years, right? So our goal is to make it the number one, the go-to IT support platform for all companies across the world, right? So these are the three tracks that we are focusing on when we talk about our roadmaps. The first thing is the support, which allows for features that support the hands-on elements of IT support or triaging issues such as remote control and agent collaboration, allowing for better flexibility and functionality when an agent has to perform remote control, as well as allowing for agent collaboration where within one session, multiple agents can collaborate to unifiedly resolve that issue. The second is remote monitoring and management, which is functionality which allows IT overarching supervision and control over their entire IT ecosystem, such as alerting and automation. We want to make IT jobs easier. We want to reduce the amount of man hours that are spent on resolving or proactively setting up an IT environment. And so we're offering and building on top of GoTo Resolve a lot of automation capabilities and alerting and patching capabilities, which I will talk about in the following slides. And lastly, but not the least, help desk, right? As I mentioned earlier, we've got a help desk functionality which is pretty robust, which is already integrated with Slack and Microsoft Teams, which allows for a conversational ticket to be raised between an end user for an agent to take it from there and resolve that issue. But we are building on top of that to allow for integrations, for example, or to improve on the submission channels and the workflows that an IT administrator needs to work through on a daily basis. So to give you a nice sneak peek on our roadmap for the rest of this year, where we sit at Q4 today. So looking at Q2 and Q3, we have completed all of the items that are earmarked, which have been earmarked under support, remote monitoring and management, sorry, help desk, as well as on the core layer of GoTo Resolve, right? So if you look at Q2 and Q3, some of the key features we've launched is being able to, do file transfers, for example, for an agent to be able to transfer a file from their machine to an end user machine within the background without having to interrupt the end user work. What we also launched is for tickets to be able to have attachments attached to them. For example, if you want to have the whole remote support journey or the history of that particular session attached as part of that ticket before an agent closes off that ticket, he can do so using the attachment feature. We've also allowed for collaborative remote support where an agent can invite up to four additional agents onto one remote support session to allow for collaboration and for faster resolutions. But what's coming in Q4, right? Let's focus our eyes on the Q4 section of the slide. What's coming is some exciting stuff, right? Something that we've been waiting since Feb for, and we've been hard at work trying to get these out for you. So we've got patch management, which is coming, which is a number one, sought after feature today, which will allow for Windows updates to be scheduled as well as to be run as patches to be able to update machines on their Windows operating systems. We've also got antivirus management, which will allow for managing the antivirus applications, as well as allowing for running a scan to detect potential threats and risks within a machine. And furthermore, that will allow for agents or IT administrators to decide on whether they need to perform remote support, remote monitoring and management, raise a ticket, and so on and so forth. Device grouping, ticketing and reporting, end user console for the ticketing side of things, in session file manager, easier multi monitoring handling, device installation from a one time session, Logitech Collab operating system integration. All of these are some very sought after features, and so we have prioritized them right there at the top of our list to get out for you in Q4. Okay. Now, what we are also focusing on is making IT easier with simple remote monitoring and management capabilities. And what I mean by that is we have taken a few initiatives to make sure that our RMM capabilities are pretty sound, right? Are pretty solid for companies that look to go to Resolve to provide that endpoint monitoring and management capability within their whole network infrastructure. So in stage one, we are reducing the amount of work that would an agent would typically undertake by sparing them the time from having to navigate from a ticketing product to a solution tool. So no longer do they need to, switch between two different products or two different applications to be able to act on a ticket. He or she should have the tools within that ticket itself to be able to work on that ticket, to take actions on resolving that ticket or resolving that end user issue from within the ticket itself. So from within the ticket, the agent will be able to connect to that particular device, start a remote support session, or connect to a camera sharing session from within that ticket itself. Okay, so as part of stage two, we've also reduced the work for an agent by reducing the time that he would take to fix an issue. What we mean by that is if an agent spends an X number of minutes resolving an issue on one machine, he should be able to replicate the same thing on other machines as well when that same issue is faced. So what we are allowing for is for an agent to be able to write a script and run it once on a particular machine or on multiple machines so that they can resolve that issue once and for all without having to manually replicate that resolution across each individual machine. In stage three, we furthermore reduce the work of an agent from even receiving tickets in certain cases, right? So we're allowing the agents to set up an alert within the machine, within the GoTo Resolve platform that would run a remote execution script given a certain condition. For example, if a machine's CPU utilization crosses 80%, that should automatically trigger an alert to the IT administrators or agents, and it should automatically also run a script to be able to shut down or restart machines, or clear temporary files, or close open applications depending on the need of the hour to be able to resolve that issue. So you see here the agent is not even involved in this resolution. He has set up his environment as such that the go to resolve platform itself automatically detects an issue and resolve that issue right then and there. So this is also something that we're working on as part of stage three, which is part of the remote monitoring and management capabilities. Okay, so it's a lot of exciting stuff. We also have a roadmap for 2023, which is work in progress. We're building up on it based on feedback that we received from all of you, as well as our existing customers, as well as our internal teams and our looking at market trends, etc. So we are constantly building on this roadmap. GoTo Resolve, like I said earlier, is going to be the number one IT management solution for SMBs, mid-market companies in the world. And that's our vision, and that's what we are prioritizing when we focus on the roadmap items. Okay, so I hope what I covered today was understandable. is, it's made you as excited as I am, as we all are. And we look forward to, discussing one-on-one with you on how we can monetize on what's there and what's to come. Thank you so much.
But Dobik, anything else that you wanted to cover today or let our partners know about?
So that's good. The other one that I'm actually looking forward to going as hopefully the next topic or the one after is there is a little bit of a focus around reshaping our um, soft phone and how it operates. And I know we have had a lot of questions around that in the past in terms of making it look and feel a little bit different. So there is a big focus around making the soft phone uh, work for customers better than the handsets because you've got a larger screen, you've got greater capabilities, but a lot of the things that are available through the handsets are sometimes omitted through the soft phone. So we're going to incorporate a lot of that, but also improve the way our contacts are coming out. And I have seen a little bit of a sneak peek in terms of what's coming out around the contacts, and it looks pretty exciting. So any feedback or any information from our partners would be fantastic, so that maybe we can influence it still. But yeah, there's some good releases that are coming out right now around the interface for the soft phone.
That's awesome. And if partners do have feedback, should they just email that to you or to our,
Yeah, to
yeah,
myself, to the
great.
channel partners, to anybody that they've got an email to, and direct it to me ultimately, so that I can take that information and I have access to some of the product managers, and we can update them. So typically what we're looking for is operationally how you're going to simplify the process of handling calls, videos, etc. In particular, telephony. So anything that's unique, anything that stands out, yeah, we'd love to incorporate that into it. But it's all about creating a process, making things a lot smoother, making things easier for end users to utilize that wherever they are. So that's the main thing.
That's awesome. That's great. And yeah, any partner feedback on products or what you're hearing from customers, that's always really valuable to us. So do make sure
Mhm.
you're passing that on to our team members and we'll definitely make sure that's heard. Um, all right, so we might close out just a bit early. Anything last minute that you wanted to touch on, Dobik?
Yeah, no, I think where we're seeing a lot of activities currently that are taking us to the end of the year. Remember, we are at that sort of like stage where things will start shutting down around early December in terms of porting numbers, etc. So get in quickly, have those conversations with your prospects, and start. Yeah, no, not till December to close it. Now's the time to do it. So this is the exciting time for a lot of the projects that needs to be deployed over Christmas. You need to have those purchase orders coming through pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and hopefully you can participate in some of the incentives as well and earn more off the back of that. And with end of year coming up, we will be sharing details on our partner appreciation end of year holiday parties. So keep an eye out for that. We'll make sure you all get the invitation. Through various means, but we're excited to always end the year celebrating with our partners. So thanks again for joining. Thanks for all the questions. And again, if you have any questions or need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to one of our team members. We're always happy to help. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Bye,
Thanks
everyone.
everyone, and thanks Jess. Bye.